everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on the mat today. I am going to take you through a short yoga practice today that is going to make your hips very happy. So maybe you're like me, we just don't take enough time to stretch out our hips. But once you start, you'll realize how tight they might actually be feeling. Especially if you're office working a lot, the hip flexors get really short. If you're walking, running, cycling, we must stretch out those big muscles of the glutes surrounding the hip areas. And as women, generally, we carry a lot of emotional stress in our hips. So just a really important practice today. So in any comfortable clothing with a tiny bit of space, and we are good to go. We're going to start lying down on our backs. So we're going to come down onto our backs whenever you're ready. Just going to allow the feet to be flat on the floor and the knees to be parallel here. Head is down and shoulders are rested into the mat. Once you feel ready, we're going to hug the left knee only into the chest. So hug that left leg in, press that left leg in towards you as you're pressing the back down into the mat. And take a slow breath. Let's breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the nose. And as you're exhaling, I just invite you to give yourself permission to let go. So sometimes that's one of the hardest things to do, is to switch off and to give yourself a little bit of time. So I'm inviting you to be here in this moment, looking after you. We start to gently take a little bit of mobility. So I'm simply circling this knee around. So it's kind of a self-massage through that hip joint. Doesn't have to be anything massive, just a tiny little mobilization here, getting some warmth into the joint itself. And then what we'll slowly do is take that left leg out to the side, pop the foot on the floor, and just press that knee gently down towards the ground. So my foot is on the floor, the left knee is dropping out to the side, pressing that left leg into the mat. And then I'm going to slide the right leg away on the ground. So the right leg is sliding away. Now from here, we sweep both arms overhead. So take a bit of a stretch through the upper body, because it is very important to make sure we're not compressing our spine, we're not collapsing into the pelvis and the hip joint. So we're making a little bit of space here. And then we'll slowly bend that right leg again, sliding it in, bringing the hands back down by your sides and assist that left leg and pop the left foot on top of the right thigh. So we're into a figure 4. Hands can come down by your sides and you're gently pressing that left foot into the right thigh to take that left knee away from you. So we're trying to open up into the left hip joint here. Pausing here for a moment. Let's come back to that breath, breathing in through the nose, and then give yourself permission to settle here, to soften, to maybe visualize the hip joint opening up a little bit further. And if it's available for you today, I'm going to lift the right foot off the ground, taking hold of behind the right thigh, and then pulling that right leg in towards us as we're still continuing to press the left knee away. So now we're going into a bit of a muscular stretch around the bottom, into the outside of the hip, possibly down into the lower back as well. Very important you keep your head on the mat. If you find your head is lifting, you could always pop a pillow underneath the head to give you a little bit of extra support. Let's slowly release, pop that right foot down onto the ground and uncross those legs, pop the left leg down too. Have a little reset if you need to, and we'll gently hug the right knee into the chest. So I'm pressing the back down into the ground, taking a moment to acknowledge, to observe, okay? So notice if this side feels any different to the other side. Maybe you're carrying a little bit of extra tension on one side of the body. That might be due to an injury, due to overuse, or just simply the way your body is feeling right now. And again, coming into a little circular massage. Doesn't have to be huge. Just a little bit of movement into that joint. Trying to get that fluid that surrounds the joints warm so that it lubricates the joints and it makes the movements feel a little easier, a little less stiff, okay? Now I'm going to take that right foot onto the ground and then drop the right knee out to the side. So I'm assisting it down a little bit, just gently pulling that right knee down to the floor. And then if that feels okay, we straighten the left leg away. So we're opening up through the pelvis now. And then extend both arms overhead once again. So taking a moment, you might even like to have a little fidget, a little bit of a side stretch here. Making sure that we are not carrying any tension through any areas of the body here today. Once you feel ready to join, the left leg bends back in. We bring the arms down by the sides and assist that right foot to come on top of the left thigh, gently leaving the hands down, using the connection between the foot and the thigh, and pressing that right knee away from us. So breathing into this right hip here, visualize it opening up. I like to kind of visualize like a flower. It's kind of my favorite thing to visualize. So as you kind of notice all the petals and everything opening up and coming to life, that's kind of how I like to visualize my hip opening up here, releasing any negativity. And if it's available to you, once again, we lift the left foot off the ground, taking hold of behind the left thigh, and then pulling that left leg in towards us whilst we are still continuing to press the right knee away from us. Breathing into the bottom now, into the lower back. Trying, if something feels a little uncomfortable at first, give yourself the opportunity to explore. Slow down the breath. Don't give up straight away. Try and breathe into it. Allow yourself to go a little deeper here. And then we'll ease off, pop the left foot down, release the right, and then invite the soles of the feet to come together. Let the knees open, maybe have a little fidget, a little rock through the pelvis, and then just allow yourself to settle here. So just invite you to maybe close the eyes for a moment. Try to notice gravity pulling those knees down towards the mat. Maybe using that flower technique, visualizing the hips, the pelvis, really blossoming, opening up. And using the breath to allow yourself to let go around the lower back, the hips, possibly even into the shoulders. Reminding yourself this is a little bit of you time to look after your body and your mind. Slowly bringing those knees back in together, hugging both knees into the chest when you're ready, maybe fluttering the eyes open, maybe keeping them closed, your practice. We're going to peel open to happy baby. You can either take hold of the thighs or the soles of the feet. Peel the knees apart, peel the heels away from the bottom, and then gently pull those knees down towards the ground in the direction of your armpits, really, and keep trying to pull the shoulder blades into the mat as well. Some people might prefer to have a little sway here, a bit of mobility, or you might like to be still. Like I say, if you can't comfortably reach the feet, feel free to use the thighs and to pull those knees down towards you, opening up through the pelvis. Then we'll invite those knees to come together, hugging the knees into the chest. I'm going to roll up to seated. You could do the same, or you could adjust, whatever feels right for you. We're going to extend your right leg away, and we're going to bring that left leg up and over for a half shoelace here. So the right leg is straight underneath. The left foot is coming over towards the right hip. Knees are kind of one on top of the other. You might want to put a pillow between both knees. That might give you a bit more support. Or if you're finding your hamstring is tight, you might like to sit on a pillow. That would help lift the floor height for you here. Taking a slow breath as you fold the body over, trying to hinge the body weight forwards. Breathing here, slowing yourself down. Obviously, it's our first seated posture, so give yourself time to arrive. Maybe if you're feeling a little bit woozy where we've just sat up, give yourself a moment. Feel free to pause the video and then move back on when you are ready. And then I'm going to, from here, come into full cow face pose. So we're going to bring the body up, take your body over towards the right so that you are able to bend the left leg. The left foot comes towards the right bottom cheek now. Both knees are one on top of the other. And once again, folding the body weight forwards, maybe having a pillow between both knees or a pillow underneath the bottom. Feel free to modify. A slow, steady breath whilst we are here. Visualize the hips, the lower back, all of that tension completely letting go. Now we're going to do a little monkey twizzle here to come to the other side. So a little bit of fun. You're going to take your hands over towards the right. We're then going to lift our bottoms off the floor. Turn yourself round towards the back of the mat. Swivel on those feet. Keep coming all the way around to the left of the mat. Pop your bottom back down on the floor. And you might be in cow face pose on the other side. You might not. Have a giggle if you're not, and then come and join us. So I've got the left leg is now bent underneath. The right leg is bent over the top. We're hinging forwards from the hips, softening through the shoulders, slowing the breath down. Visualize all tension leaving the body here through the lower body, especially in this practice today. And then gently bringing the body weight up slightly so that you can straighten that left leg. The left leg comes out in front of you. Half shoelace pose, and we fold forwards once again. Slow, steady breath here. So again, maybe you're noticing the hamstring is quite tight. So for you, maybe we need to focus on a hamstring stretching class as well, which there are plenty of on the membership site. So feel free to have a little explore and just take this opportunity as we move around the mat today to really notice your body and to check in with which body parts maybe need a little bit more love, a little bit more attention, or maybe this video is perfect for you today. Okay? So from here, let's peel ourselves up. We're going to open those legs a little wider now into a straddle stance. Don't have to come too wide, just as wide as you feel comfortable. Hands close to the bottom. Try and shimmy yourself forwards, getting yourself off of that fleshy part of the bum if you can. Again, you might want to put a pillow underneath your bottom to help you lift the floor height and tilt that pelvis. Make sure these knees are turning upwards. Don't let them drop in forwards. And again, hands on the ground or on a pillow, something like that. Maybe we take a little sway here first, a little bit of movement, and then maybe find some stillness. And you don't have to have your body flat on the floor to feel how beneficial this posture is, okay? Being up here might be enough. Maybe you want to bring the legs a little bit closer together. Really important to not let your mind take over as what you think things should look like, because actually, if you try and get yourself into that pose, it's probably going to do your body worse damage than actually easing off and being exactly where you need to be today. So go easy on yourself. Okay, you're doing really well. From here, I'm going to ease off. We're going to bend the left leg now. We're going to bend the left leg. Now I'm going to roll all the way over. So this right leg is going to roll all the way over. So I come onto my right knee, onto the top of the right foot. We're going to come into a pigeon pose. So the left knee is coming to the top of the mat. I've got my left foot coming out from underneath me. The right knee's on the floor, the top of the right foot is on the floor. And I'm going to pause here. I'm not sinking over completely. Hands are quite close towards the left knee. Soften through the shoulders. Take a little breath while we're here. Okay, so we're trying to think about the right hip pressing forwards to the top of the mat. You might like to use a prop, a pillow underneath your left bottom cheek. That will stop you rolling over to the side. Maybe you need a little help there, and it's always absolutely fine to ask your props for help, okay? So a slow, steady breath here as we lift up through the chest and press those hips forwards. And then we're actually going to ground down through the hands as we bring that left leg back, coming onto all fours. Maybe have a little fidget, a bit of a hip circle here, anything goes. We'll take that active pigeon on the other side. So the right knee slides through towards the right wrist. Make sure that foot's coming out from underneath you. We slide the left leg back as far back as it will go, and you'll feel that hip flexor on the top of the left thigh really lengthening as you extend that leg back. Make sure the hands aren't too far forwards, because this will start to happen. You'll start to collapse, okay? So try and keep the hands quite close to the right knee so you can lift and open through the chest. Soften through those shoulders. Remember, ask for props if you need to. And take a breath, okay? Giving yourself time. Some of these poses we're coming into today are quite intense, and especially if you haven't really done many of these before, they will feel quite extreme, okay? So please just go easy, and remember, you don't plop straight into a pose. It takes time to settle, time to truly arrive. So take a breath whilst we get here. We'll ground down into both hands and then bring that right knee back so that we come onto our knees, all fours, and have a little wriggle once again. I'm going to turn to face you. You might want to turn so you've got your knees on the length of the mat, because we're going to take our knees as wide as we can here into a frog pose. So you can see I'm taking my knees very wide now, as wide as you can go. The feet are in line with the knees, so my feet aren't coming together. They're in line with the knees, okay? And we're going to do a little rock here. I press the hips back and then ease the hips forwards. So I'm pushing the hips back and then bringing the hips forwards. Doesn't have to be a ginormous movement. Really important to learn that, okay? Sometimes the smaller movements are the more effective. As you're pressing the hips back, I want you to notice how that feels through the hips, through the groin, exhaling, inhaling as you come forwards. Let's do that a couple more times if that's available for you. Slow, steady breath while we're here. And then we'll slowly ground down through the hands again. That's the best way to bring those knees in so they're underneath your hips. So you're back onto all fours. Now I invite you to take your left leg and do a few circles here with that left knee. So the left knee is bent and I'm doing some big circles through that hip joint. Again, getting a little bit more mobility now from when we were at the beginning of practice, really opening up through that joint. Now we extend that left leg out to the side. The sole of the foot is flat on the floor. The toes are facing in the same direction as the hands. Now again, I'm going to do that little rock sensation once again, like we just did in frog. So we're taking the bottom back towards the right heel and then transferring our weight back into the hands. And now we're just isolating both sides of the body so we can really notice how each side of the body responds here. And also opening up through those inner thighs. Let's bring that left leg in your own time, starting to circle through the right leg. Maybe noticing out for any clunks. If there's anything that's sharp and painful, a sudden sharp pain, then please stop. But sometimes those little hip clunks that you get, they're okay, as long as they don't hurt, so don't be afraid. We extend the right leg out to the side. The sole of the foot is flat, toes facing forwards. And we start to rock our body weight backwards and forwards here. Taking notes, feeling that length through the inner thigh as you go back. Keep thinking of your tailbone, so your coccyx. You want to really tilt that up towards the ceiling so that we can open up through the backs of those legs here. Okay? One last breath here if we can. And then we'll slowly bring that right knee back in. Now from here on, we are going to tuck our toes under, lift our knees and find a downward facing dog when you are ready. So taking a breath here, finding that downward facing dog. Heels are falling heavy, lengthening through the back of the legs, pressing that chest through. And then we'll slowly make our way back down onto our knees. Now we're going to step our right foot through to the outside of the right hand. So a little lizard pose. So the right foot comes to the outside of the right hand. The toes and the knee are turning onto the diagonal. So really important you open through this hip. We're going to ground down through the left hand and pop the right hand onto the right thigh. Now I'm going to press that right knee away from me. I'm rolling onto the outside edge of the right foot. So my big toe is off the floor. Don't collapse into that ankle though. Make sure you are controlling as you roll onto the outside. Really push that right thigh away from you. I'm actually rolling that thigh back. And that left hip flexor is still pressing towards the top of the mat. So a slow, steady breath while we're here. Pressing the left hip forwards, rolling that right leg back. And then gently pop the right foot down, pop the right hand down, bring that right leg back in your own time, tuck in the toes under, and we'll all meet back in our downward facing dog. A slow, refreshing breath while we're here. Find some length, some space. And then in your own time, bend in the knees, coming back down onto all fours. We're going to step the left foot now to the outside of the left hand. Press this right hip through first. So you don't want that right knee to be directly under because you're not getting that stretch here through the front of the right hip flexor. So you want to take that right leg back quite far. Now the left toes, the left knee are facing the diagonal. We're going to pop our left hand onto the left thigh and then press that left leg away whilst you're rolling onto the little toe. The big toe lifts, pressing the right hip forwards towards the floor, pushing your chest away from that left leg. So you're trying to make a space here, make a big gap between the left knee and the chest. Breathing into that hip flexor. Remember that flower blossoming like I mentioned for a visualization at the beginning of this practice. And then gently bring the left hand down, bringing that left knee back in your own time. And let's come into our downward facing dog once you feel comfortable. Good work. Well done, guys. Let's pause here for a moment. Feeling free to have a little fidget. Moving through the hips, pedaling through the knees, possibly even finding child's pose if you prefer. And then I will invite everybody to walk their feet all the way into the top of the mat. So to your hands, I'm going to turn to face you so you can see my alignment. So we're in a standing forward fold at the moment. So bending through the knees as generously as you need to. Let the body fold over, releasing any tension through the head and the shoulders. Now I'm going to allow the body to stay down here. I'm going to toe heel, so walking those feet out as wide as I can, comfortably. Now, the left toe is going to turn to the top corner of my mat. So my left toe is turning out here. Now, my right foot is going to face straight on to the side of the mat. Okay, so my left toe's turned out, the right foot is facing side on. I'm going to bend into the left leg here. So I'm bending deeply into the left leg. Now I'm going to use my left hand on that left thigh once again, and I'm pressing my left knee back. I'm not rolling the foot this time though. So all of my 5 toes are staying down. Right hand is on the ground. It might be on a block or a pillow if you need some support to lift up the floor height here. The right foot is staying flat. You can see my toes are down. Right leg is straight, and I'm pushing that left leg open as much as possible. Now from here, we're going to ease off with that left hand. I'm going to sweep the right arm all the way up and over, turning the left foot to point towards the top of the mat as I arrive in a warrior 2. Shoulders are soft, shoulders are over hips. And now warrior is a great way to open up through these hips. So really visualize pulling that right hip back without letting the left knee drop in, keeping the left knee facing in the same direction as the toes. And then from here, we're going to straighten the left leg, slide the left hand forwards, bring the left hand down to the inside of the left leg, right hand comes onto the hip. We're in a triangle variation here. So both legs are straight, peeling that right hip back, roll the right shoulder down the back, left palm of the hand is facing forwards. Don't lean onto that leg. No pressure there, okay? Beautiful. Take one more breath here if you can, in through the nose and breathing out through the nose also. Then we bend back into that left leg, reach the left arm up, extend the right arm out as well. Now straighten the left leg, turn both toes to face forwards, hinge from the hips, let's come down to our wide leg forward fold. Let the body melt over here, weight is in the toes, not in the heels. Breathe here, open up through the backs of those legs, take a moment to settle, to make space, to arrive. And then we're going to bend the right knee, turn the right toes to the top corner of the mat, bend into that right leg only, left leg stays straight. We pop the right hand onto the right thigh, press that right knee open but without rolling through the foot. Keep the left leg straight, bending into those legs as much as you can. Use that left hand to kind of push yourself around away from the center line. And now ease off through the left, sweep the left arm forwards, turning that right foot to face the top end of the mat, finding your warrior 2. Soften the shoulders, open through those hips. Really feel this openness through the hips here today. We then straighten the right leg, slide the right arm forwards, bring the right hand down to the inside of the right thigh, left hand goes onto the hip. Roll the shoulder back, chest and hips are both fully open here. Breathing into the back of the legs, try not to lock out those knees. Then we bend back into that right leg as the right arm comes up, left arm extends. We straighten the right leg, toes turn to face forwards, wide leg forward fold for the last time. Let the body fold over, lift up and out of those hips. And then toe heel those feet, walk the feet all the way in so that you arrive in a standing forward fold. So the body folds over, ribs coming towards the thighs, bend those knees if you need to. And then we'll bend the knees generously, come all the way down onto your bottoms. Make your way down here comfortably. And we'll come into a cross-legged seated posture if that feels okay for you here today. Gently resting the hands down on the knees. Roll the shoulders down the back, lengthen, make space through the spine. And I invite you to close your eyes. I invite you into this moment of stillness. I invite you to scan your body, to notice that energy moving around the hips, all across the lower back, down through the inner thighs. I would like you to notice the ground rising up to support you, to hold you. Feel gravity pulling those knees down towards the earth. And as you have all of this energy buzzing around through the lower body, notice all of that space through the top half. It's all connected. Slowing down the breath, breathing in through the nose, And as you breathe out through the nose, soften further, go deeper. Sometimes clinging on to all of that tension, that stress, it can cause physical reactions with the body. So taking a moment to pause and to breathe is sometimes all your body requires. So breathing deeply, fully, and exhaling, truly giving yourself permission to let go. Inviting the hands to come together at heart center. I thank you for joining me on the mat today, and I hope to see you on the mat again soon in the near future. Namaste.